What is the future of Hollywood studios? It's been unclear until now. To get a good idea of the future of this theme park, we have to take a look at the past. Which you might not think to do, because more than any other Disney World park, Hollywood Studios has abandoned its past. It looks almost nothing like it did when it first opened. The signature ride, gone. Two of the park's icons, demolished. Even the park's original name got ditched. And if you look at the recent past, the innovative Star Wars tie-in hotel was thrown in the trash compactor. But the park is about to embark on another transformation that might just recapture its original magic. And this might be the rare Hollywood reboot that is actually better than the original. Let's take a look at the future of Hollywood studios in this episode of Future World. Hi, I'm James from Guide to WDW, and welcome to another edition of Future World, the series where I read into every little detail Disney announces to give you a glimpse into the tomorrow of Tomorrowland. And today we're taking a long overdue look at Hollywood studios, because Disney has recently announced a ton of new things coming to this park in 2026 and beyond. I've covered a lot of the news for this park in my other videos, like the Monsters Inc. roller coaster or the Millennium Falcon updates. But honestly, I've been avoiding doing a deep dive on all of it. My first working title for this video a few months ago was The Future of Hollywood Studios is Weird, because I was having a hard time wrapping my head around what they were doing with the park, and also I was feeling pretty grumpy about Muppet Vision closing.
Ozzy, that's terrible. You're right. Needs more sugar.
But Disney just announced a major transformation of the park's honestly worst area that made everything suddenly click. So much of the park is being reimagined and rethemed, and I think the key to understanding it all is to look to the past. So today I'm going to cover everything that's new that's coming to Hollywood studios, the three major changes that are coming in 2026, the latest that we know about the Monsters Inc. land, and wild speculation on where the park might be heading after that. And stay tuned for my patented bold prediction that's guaranteed to be true or your money back that veers very close into conspiracy theory territory. But before we get to the future, let's start in the present by looking at the problem with Hollywood studios today. Hollywood Studios is currently my least favorite Disney park in the US, which is weird because on paper, it should be my favorite. It has a crazy good ride lineup, including some of my absolute favorites. There's an entire immersive land set in my favorite film franchise, and my boy Indiana Jones is there. Yet, it's the park that I'd pick last to visit, because ironically, I think Hollywood Studios is a bit too ride-focused. I'll show you what I mean. Here's my ranking of the US Disney parks just based on the ride lineup. I'd rank Hollywood Studios third, best of the Disney World parks. But now I'm going to rank the parks based on the vibes alone. This is where I'd want to go hang out. It's a mix of the theming, the dining, the other little things. Ask yourself, if you went to this park and didn't go on a ride at all, how would you feel? And Hollywood Studios drops to dead last, and it's not particularly close. Like if someone asked me if they wanted to spend a few hours together just chillin' in Toy Story Land, no thank you. We might as well just hang out in Death Valley. And the more I go to theme parks, the more I value the vibes over the rides. And just for fun, here's where I'd rank all the US Universal parks on the vibes list as well. All of that is to say, Hollywood Studios, the draw is really the rides first. And that's a big problem, because it leads to higher wait times, harder lightning lanes to get, and a more frustrating guest experience. Like Slinky Dog is a really good roller coaster, but it shouldn't be averaging a 90-minute wait. Growing up, MGM was my favorite park, so I have nostalgia for this place, but that might also be part of the problem. The theme of Hollywood Studios has eroded. Animation Studio, gone. Backlot Tour, gone. Muppets, gone. Great Movie Ride, gone. I like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway a lot, but since that ride took over the Chinese theater, the heart of the park has been missing. It used to be the Ride the Movies park, but now every park has that. Hollywood Studios has lost what made it special. But that might be changing. Hollywood Studios is about to embark on another transformation, and the heart of the park may be coming back in an unexpected way. So let's start looking into the future with next year. 2026 is looking like it is going to be a sneakily big year for Hollywood Studios. There are three big changes coming in 2026. Let's start with the smallest and move to the biggest. First, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith will walk this way for the last time in early 2026. That version of the ride will close and reopen sometime later in 2026 as Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. That short timeline really indicates that this will be a reskin. The ride itself will be the same, but will feature new visuals, new props, and a new soundtrack. I wouldn't expect a roller coaster track replacement like what's happening at Big Thunder Mountain. Personally, I'm more excited for the pre-show than the actual ride itself, both because I've been spoiled by the newer generation of buttery smooth coasters, and because I think that the pre-show is where the Muppets humor has the best chance to shine. Also, as I speculated in last week's video, Disney initially announced that the Muppets will be teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a rock and music festival in the new ride, which makes me feel like they will have a randomized song list. Rock 'n' Roller Coaster already has an alternating soundtrack, and the "Which Song Did You Get" is such a big hit at Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think that will be coming here, and I really think Disney could pay tribute to the past of this coaster by keeping Aerosmith as one of the artists at the Muppet Music Festival. That's just speculation on my part, but we'll come back to Muppets later. And if you're liking this video so far, be sure to get subscribed to Guide to WDW for more deep dives on the future of Disney parks. Next, as I've covered in previous episodes, in May 2026, Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run is getting a massive overhaul. And we've even learned some juicy new details since the last time I checked in. These updates aren't just about shoehorning in the Mandalorian and Grogu to promote the movie. This is going to be a huge upgrade. The ride is not only upgrading the software from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, but Imagineer Asa Kalama revealed at Unreal Fest Orlando that they are upgrading the show game computer hardware with the latest CPUs and GPUs. So everything should look substantially better, but it also seems like they're upping the interactivity. First, the engineers will have two new jobs. One is to interact with and take care of Grogu during the mission, and the second is to pick the final destination. Every mission starts by going to Tatooine, but the engineers will be able to choose one of the 3 planets where to go next: Coruscant, Cloud City on Bespin, or the wreckage of the second Death Star over the forest moon of Endor. Getting to the theme of looking to the past, those are all classic destinations from the first 2 Star Wars trilogies that have been underrepresented in the Star Wars land as a whole. And another blast from Disney World's past, this reminds me a bit of the choose-your-own-adventure ending of Horizons, that had you picking between 3 destinations for the finale. And it gets even better, because those are big branching paths. But Kalama also revealed something that isn't getting a lot of attention. He said, quote, "Even within the environments themselves, we've worked with our partners at ILM to develop levels that have considerably more branching, so that even if you return to the same destination, there's a new route or new secrets to uncover." This has me so excited, because Smugglers Run has always felt a bit too on rails. The interactivity was kind of binary. You either got the coaxium or you didn't. You're either flying in the middle, or more likely you're crashing into the sides because your pilots are 5 years old, or because you just came from Ogas. All of this reads to me that Imagineering is really leveraging the fact that this is a video game, with branching paths and hidden secrets that should make no 2 rides feel the same. The fact that Millennium Falcon is getting this level of an upgrade, better graphics, and better level design is a welcome surprise. And it is really shaping up to be the Millennium Falcon experience that we all were hoping for when Galaxy's Edge launched in 2019. Speaking of launch, the biggest Hollywood Studios news for 2026 has to do with removing Star Wars where it doesn't belong anymore, and bringing the park back to its roots. Disney World announced that the animation Courtyard, including Star Wars Launch Bay and the Disney Junior Play and Dance Show, is closing on September 25th, 2025. And unlike other areas that have been closed lately, like Muppet Courtyard or Rivers of America, this announcement has been met with collective celebration. After all, the current state of the animation Courtyard is kind of emblematic of the entire Hollywood Studios problem that I talked about at the top of the video. With zero shade, it's not a place that you want to hang out at. Zero vibes here. And the attractions were woefully out of date. At the beginning of 2025, this would be my pick for bleakest corner of Disney World. Little Mermaid had been closed for years at this point. Thankfully, that returned in May, and I like the new staging a lot. But then you'd look up and see a big billboard for Disney Junior, including the most popular show in the world, Bluey. And hey, Disney announced a big partnership with Bluey in 2024 and said that the Healers were coming to the parks. So let's go check out that Disney Junior show. But that show not only doesn't include Bluey, it's also crazy out of date. It features Doc McStuffins, a series that ended in 2020, Vampirina, a series that ended in 2021, Timon, a classic character, but he's repping the Lion Guard, a series that ended in 2019. and Mickey Mouse in his Roadster Racer's outfit, another show that ended in 2021. Since this Disney Junior dance show was last updated, there's been a completely new Disney Junior Mickey Mouse series that premiered, ran for 3 seasons, and ended. Time is a flat circle because now they're back to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. In the words of Poe Dameron, somehow Toodles has returned. Speaking of Poe Dameron, let's go to the centerpiece of the animation courtyard, Star Wars Launch Bay, an attraction that has nothing to do with animation. In fact, an attraction that was meant to preview and hype up Galaxy's Edge all the way up until its debut in 2019. And since Star Wars has launched, Launch Bay has kind of just lingered there. It has good meet and greets, but when one of your big draws is that it has shaded stroller parking, you know that there could be so much more done here. The state that this area has been in over the past few years has been starkly disappointing because this is all a shell of its former self. When this area opened in 1989, it was a key area of the park. It was a working animation production facility, and there was an animation tour called The Magic of Disney Animation, featuring a very charming short film with Robin Williams and Walter Cronkite called Back to Neverland.
You're maybe going with Peter Pan, First Blood, coming in with twin Uzis going, Hook, we've got a problem, and have Jack Nicholson play Captain Hook going, maybe, maybe not, sucker, let's talk.
My favorite Disney Easter egg of all time is that the genie at the end of Aladdin is modeled after Robin Williams' tourist costume from the animation tour movie, right down to the Hawaiian shirt and goofy hat. And on the tour, you could see artists at work. This facility did work on The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King, and the Orlando studio was the primary production facility for Mulan and Lilo and Stitch. I've heard from a few viewers who said that taking this tour as a kid was what inspired them to get into animation as a profession. This attraction also featured the Animation Academy drawing classes, which was always one of my favorite unique Disney World activities. The animation production shut down here in 2004, and the attraction lasted until 2015 when it was closed to make way for Star Wars Launch Bay, which lasted almost a decade. This history lesson isn't just fun trivia or to complain that the good old days were better. Like I said in the beginning of this video, the future of this park is in the past, and that's especially true for this area. Everything in this courtyard is being reimagined and returning to its roots of celebrating animation. In 2026, the Animation Courtyard will reopen as Walt Disney Studios, modeled after the real-life Burbank production facility. And the first thing that I want to note is that this just looks like a much more pleasant area to be in. It's much lusher, more trees, more shade, gaining big points on the Guide to WDW vibe scale. It's also thematically fitting that it ties into the real Disney studios, including the return of the Sorcerer's hat to this park, the first of several retro comebacks. But this time it won't be blocking the view of the Chinese theater. It will look just like the Roy E. Disney Animation Building in Burbank, with the Sorcerer's hat sitting on top of the entrance of the attraction, which will once again be called the Magic of Disney Animation, the first of 3 new attractions coming to this area. This is an all-new version of the Magic of Disney Animation, taking inspiration from the Once Upon a Studio animated short. Like in the film, there will be portraits of the characters that come to life before your eyes. The story is that while the animators are away, the characters have taken over the studio, and there will be several interactive exhibits modeled after various studio departments. Having a bunch of character-based interactive exhibits reminds me of the animation building in California Adventure before they started closing big parts of it. And it's also reminiscent of the Play Pavilion that was supposed to open in Epcot in 2021, but is now presumed to be cancelled. Although you can still buy a Play Pavilion poster from DisneyStore.com. That is a real wonder of life. Disney hasn't announced many details about what you'll be doing beyond having playful and interactive moments around every corner. But I personally hope that these thread the needle of fun interactive game that actually teaches you something about the animation process, really getting back to the behind-the-scenes roots of the park and hopefully inspiring more future animators. The Magic of Disney Animation will also feature a new short film with a twist and the glorious return of the character drawing classes. It makes so much more sense to have it in this building than tucked all the way back in Rafiki's Planet Watch at Animal Kingdom, which I've done a total of 0 times since it moved there. Also notice that the vacation genie I mentioned earlier is prominently featured in the poster, which is both a very nice touch and an Easter egg to an Easter egg, which is a very exceptional detail. But all of that is technically just one attraction. The Walt Disney Studios area will also have a new playground called Drawn to Wonderland, which will feature an oversized flower garden with musical instruments, a Mad Tea Party playset, and a Tugly Wood exploration area. There are 3 reasons to get excited about this playground. 1, the look is inspired by Mary Blair's original concept art for Alice in Wonderland. You always love to see more Mary Blair in the parks, and it's a clever way to tie in the theme of animation production by having a playground based on concept art. 2, it's indoors, which is so clutch. An unfortunate recent trend in the theme park industry has been to design parks as if every day is going to be like October in Southern California. But go to Celestial Park or Toy Story Land in the middle of July, and you need to be kitted out with a neck fan, electrolyte water, and an SPF umbrella just to survive. Having the shady trees will be nice, but an air-conditioned indoor area with something for kids to do is just so great for families. And 3, this reverses another trend that, as a dad, I've been worried about. For a couple of years, it seemed like Disney was just removing these playground areas. The playground by Splash Mountain, Tom Sawyer Island, the Boneyard at Animal Kingdom. Playgrounds aren't the most exciting attractions, but it's one of those vibes things that can really make a theme park day much better for families. Little kids don't like waiting in lines all day. They'll get restless and cranky if that's all you're doing. Having a play area where there's no line, kids can run around, and there's a nice place for parents to sit is a great way for everyone to recharge. It's the park of theme parks. And it's good it's not only coming here, but the Tropical America's Land is confirmed to have a new play area to replace the Boneyard, and there's potentially another play area coming to Hollywood Studios that I'll get to soon. Finally, the last attraction coming is a fresh Disney Junior show at the Soundstage, but we don't know much beyond that. I hope 2 things. 1, that it features Bluey. At this point, how could it not? And 2, as part of Cool Kids Summer this year, Disney converted the show to be an all-day indoor air-conditioned dance party with characters. Personally, I think that is a way better attraction for kids. You don't have to worry about a schedule, your kids can run around, and you get a lot of time with the characters. So I hope Disney does something closer to a Bluey dance mode dance party than the old Disney Junior Play and Dance show. We'll see, but no matter what, getting something fresh here will be very welcome. Overall, I'm really excited about these updates. It's bringing a lot of history and heart back to Hollywood Studios, and there are so many little things to celebrate here. The drawing classes, the trees, the indoor playground, which I think I've talked more about that playground here than all the other Disney creators have talked about it combined. These little things tend to get overlooked by the online fan community, but they make a huge difference to the guests visiting. Now I've seen some complaints that this update doesn't feature a ride, and that there's plenty of room behind here for a ride, so why isn't Disney doing that? Look, I love rides, but like I said before, Hollywood Studios is already very ride heavy. That's not the main problem with the park. Having an area of the park that's just nice to be in, that's thematically cohesive, and features a lot of different experiences that you don't need to wait in a long line for, is great for having this park jump up in the vibes ranking. And also, this doesn't prevent a ride from ever coming here. In fact, I think it would be great if there was some type of movie ride here, one that takes you into the history of animated films. That would make a lot of sense here, like you enter the real world studio and then get to experience the fantastical worlds that the artists create. That's a concept to think about, and I would be a big fan of that happening eventually. But for now, I think that Walt Disney Studios addresses the bigger need of the park, rather than adding another attraction that will have a 90-minute wait all day. Speaking of an attraction that will have a 90-minute wait all day, let's go over to the Monsters Inc. Door roller coaster and Monstropolis, which is already under construction. Okay, we've all said our goodbye to Muppets and had our last slice of wrap pizza. And since then, Disney has started tearing down some buildings, but not everything yet. Hang in there, Gonzo. After Muppets closed, they put up a construction wall with updated concept art for the Monsters Inc. land, which features several new details. So here's the latest on what we know about the Monsters Inc. land. The land is still going to reuse a lot of the existing infrastructure from Muppet Courtyard, with the Harryhausen sit-down restaurant taking over the Mama Melrose building, and presumably some kind of quick service dining taking over the former Pizza Rizzo / Pizza Planet building. I think it's a safe bet that this will still be a pizza restaurant, and that Gonzo's Royal Flush will still be toilets. The new concept art now features a fountain where the Miss Piggy fountain was, and the former Muppet Theater is now called the Glob, which I guess is a play of the Globe Theater of Shakespeare fame. The previous concept art called this theater the Monstro. And they also removed the billboard featuring Monsters Inc. laugh floor from the previous concept art, probably because some moron who reads way too much into every little detail that Disney announces speculated that this could mean that laugh floor was coming to this theater. Who would do that? I have a few theories. The first is that they're moving Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor to this location where the billboard is. So I can just safely say that removing this billboard from the concept art definitely means that Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor will be closing at Magic Kingdom. That's 100% verified. What else could it mean? So as a reminder, a new Monsters, Inc. theater show will be coming to the Glob. But the main event is the Door roller coaster, which is another throwback. The future of Hollywood studios is in the past, even in Monstropolis. Pete Docter revealed earlier this year that when they came up with the door sequence for the 2001 movie, they thought that it would make a great Disney ride.
So we were like, okay, if monsters have access to kids' rooms through the closets, where do they store them all? Well, maybe there's some giant vaults. Yeah, that's good. And what if there's like an overhead track that delivers them? Great. You know what? That would make a great Disneyland ride. It was like that quick.
And this ride was supposed to come to Disney World years ago. There's a 2008 article by Jim Hill talking about how an inverted roller coaster recreating the door vault sequence was greenlit to come to Hollywood studios, and was supposed to be open in time for Disney World's 40th anniversary in 2011. But instead of the early 2010s, this ride is now coming in the late 2020s. And this coaster is going to be massive. The updated concept art shows it set further back from the rest of the land. And according to Blog Mickey, permits say that this building will be 103,000 square feet, 11% larger than Rise of the Resistance. And these aerial pictures from Theme Park World's Eye in the Sky BioReconstruct show the site being cleared, and just how massive the scale is compared to the rest of the land. The ride is also going to be very tall because it's going to feature a giant vertical lift at the load station. But the detail in the concept art that got me the most excited, unsurprisingly, are these shade structures here. I've seen some people speculating that it's extended queue for the coaster, but it's not. One of the earlier pieces of concept art for Monstropolis that appeared to take place in the animation courtyard featured a playground. And that's been gone from the newer concept art until now. That shade structure is placed over a play area. You can see kids climbing on some type of tentacle thing. Which, as I covered earlier, playgrounds are a great way to increase the vibes for families. But even if you don't have kids, I do think that the land overall looks like a much more pleasant place to hang out in than the old Muppets Courtyard. There's a ton of trees, and as painful as it is to see, getting rid of the old Muppet store will make this area feel much more open. As I've said before, when Disney replaces something in the parks, it needs to be a clear upgrade. Increase the vibes and add a major ride, and you should have a winner. I think that's the case when it comes to this land overall, except for when it comes to the Muppet Vision Theater itself. Now, Disney Live Entertainment has been on a roll lately. I really love the update to Little Mermaid. Villains is a lot of fun, and Disney's Starlight is dazzling. I have faith that whatever show they put in this theater will be fun and entertaining. But will it be better than Muppet Vision? Doing better than Jim Henson is a really high bar to clear, and Muppet Vision was timeless. I saw it a few times before it closed, and the jokes were still hitting with the audiences over 30 years after its debut. My 4-year-old and 1-year-old got to see it for the first and last time, and they were absolutely captivated, giggling and reaching out at the cheap 3D tricks. I don't know how you do better than that, and I also don't know if it was even necessary, because it feels like Muppets and monsters could thematically be neighbors. Like, instead of being an immersive Monstropolis land, it was a creature corner of the park. But that's not what Disney chose to do. They got rid of Muppets forever. Or did they? Okay, time to put on your tinfoil hat as we go down into the speculation zone. Time for some game theory, because there's a path for Muppet Vision to return. And maybe that's been the plan all along. And all of this comes back to the Walt Disney Studios land coming next year. Hollywood Studios has been feeling thematically lost, but now it feels like the theme could be restored and come back better than ever. Remember that concept of having a real-life studio area that leads into the immersive ride. I think that's a really compelling concept for this park, and it's right there in the name, studios. One of the unique strengths of Disney is that it has distinct studios that are strong brands in and of themselves. I think they should really lean into that more. And when the Walt Disney Studios area opens, there will now be 2 areas of the park modeled after Disney's production studios. The other being Pixar Plaza, which is modeled after Pixar in Emeryville. That corridor has been underutilized for years and could use some love. This area was also de-themed, removing the Pixar Studios sign. But the architecture is still there. Bring back the sign, add a Luxo Junior lamp animatronic, and a few other enhancements, and it will feel like another studio campus like Walt Disney Studios. And that could be the start of a larger thematic overhaul for Hollywood studios. One that doesn't require too much to be changed. The area off of Echo Lake with Indiana Jones and Star Tours could become Skywalker Ranch. You could retheme Backlot Express, move the Star Wars meet and greets from Launch Bay over to this area, and maybe even do some interactive behind-the-scenes exhibits, like a demonstration of how they film with the volume. Basically a live-action counterpart to the new magic of Disney animation. So you can have areas modeled after Walt Disney Studios, after Pixar, and after Lucasfilm. The real-world production facilities that lead into the immersive fantasy worlds of Mickey Mouse, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., and Star Wars. But then over here you have Muppets coming to Sunset Boulevard with Rock and Roller Coaster. And it just so happens that the actual Jim Henson Company lot is located off of the actual Sunset Boulevard. Turns out the lot was recently sold by the Henson family, but the property has a storied Hollywood history, as it was the original Charlie Chaplin Studios. If Disney can't directly model something after this for legal reasons, they could at least take inspiration from it. It makes so much sense to me to turn this corner of Sunset Boulevard into a Muppet Studios land. They could easily take over all of the outdoor food market. Pizza Rizzo's dough can rise from the dead, but they could easily make Rosie's, Fairfax Fair, and Hollywood Scoops all Muppet themed. Then you have Rock and Roller Coaster with the Muppets, and right behind it you have a theater which now has a villain show. Look, I like Villains Unfairly Ever After. It has some really inventive staging and a total bop of a theme song. But it feels to me kind of temporary. Like it's the appetizer for the Villains Land coming to Magic Kingdom. But now follow my red yarn here as I connect the dots, because part of the theater updates for the Villains show, they added some really nice seats that reminded me of the Muppet Vision Theater. The theater is also similarly sized to Muppet Vision. When Disney announced that the Muppets were moving to Sunset Boulevard, they said, quote, "We are having creative conversations and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future." When the attraction closed, it didn't feature any farewell merchandise. And in an interview with Theater Mania, Brian Henson said that all the animatronics have been preserved. He said, quote, "So theoretically, they could bring it back if they wanted to at some point. So maybe they'll bring Muppet Vision back, or maybe the animatronics will just be bought by John Stamos and put in his backyard." Honestly, I think anything's on the table at this point, and I think Disney's just keeping their options open and paying attention to fan reaction. But this brings me to my bold prediction that's guaranteed to be true or your money back. Muppet Vision will come back to Hollywood studios. I think it just makes too much sense with the direction that the park is going, building areas based off of Disney's real-world studios, and having a theater right next to Muppet Rock and Roller Coaster. Something I didn't realize until recently. Imagineering includes the Muppet Studios as part of its division. I don't think they got rid of Muppet Courtyard just because they don't care about the Muppets. I would bet money right now that there's a plan at WDI to bring Muppet Vision back as part of a Muppet Studios land. But I'll fully admit that this prediction is wishful thinking on my part, because I'd bet at most it's just a plan. And as we saw with the Monsters Inc. roller coaster, plans can get diverted and derailed, sometimes for years upon years. The history of Disney World is full of temporary entertainment that ends up sticking around, sometimes for decades. So while I think it makes so much sense for Muppet Vision to come back to this location, I could also see people buying 30th anniversary Villains Unfairly Ever After holopins in 2055. But I do think that the future of Hollywood studios is in the past. And hopefully that past includes Jim Henson's last film.
So thank you very much for coming to see this demonstration of Muppet Vision technology, and enjoy the rest of your stay, and come see us again sometime.
But I want to hear what you think. This has been James from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see ya in the future.